The mood in Westminster is tense. The phones haven't stopped ringing, ministers are on edge, and behind the doors of number 10, panic has quietly replaced protocol. Across the Atlantic, the clock is ticking, and it's not just another announcement coming from Washington. This one could shake the foundations of Britain's economy. As President Donald Trump prepares to unveil a sweeping set of trade measures, Downing Street is scrambling. And the Prime Minister, he's gambling. Fast. What exactly is being offered behind closed doors? And will it be enough to stop the tidal wave that's already heading Britain's way? Let's get into it. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. UK makes last-minute concessions as Trump's trade war nears, markets rattle, farmers rage, and Starmer scrambles for a lifeline. In a dramatic turn of events, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has scrambled together a package of economic concessions in a desperate bid to shield the UK from a looming global trade war, one that could erupt within hours. President Donald Trump is set to unveil his so-called Liberation Day tariffs later tonight, triggering what analysts are warning could be the most significant economic upheaval since the early 2000s. If implemented as expected, these tariffs will hit every major economy, and the UK is squarely in the crosshairs. In Westminster, panic has quietly replaced diplomacy. The UK has already conceded that hopes for a far-reaching transatlantic trade deal are off the table. So now the Prime Minister is shifting strategy, offering up economic ground in hopes of avoiding the worst of the fallout. Among the most notable concessions, Downing Street has placed future technologies on the table with signals that Britain could ease or even scrap its digital services tax, a levy that has long been a sore spot for Silicon Valley and, by extension, for Washington. For Trump, this may be a tempting offer. For Starmer, it's a gamble with national digital sovereignty on the line. But it doesn't stop there. Number 10 has also hinted at a willingness to relax existing UK tariffs on American meat exports, including chicken and beef, another deeply controversial move. This has sparked immediate backlash from Britain's agricultural sector. Tom Bradshaw, president of the National Farmers Union, didn't mince words. Speaking to The Telegraph, he warned that any one-sided deal would be met with fierce resistance. If we're giving up access to our market, then it needs to be reciprocal, he said. If it's a one-way deal, that is something the industry will have a problem with. And the farmers are already angry. Rachel Reeves's recent tax raid on inheritance wealth, seen as a blow to farming families across the country, has triggered growing protests in rural areas. To now throw agriculture on the altar of trade diplomacy, that's a political firebomb waiting to explode. This wouldn't be the first time agriculture has derailed trade talks between London and Washington. During Trump's first term, Boris Johnson's own negotiations floundered on the same issue. Starmer is now betting that these last-minute concessions might tip the balance toward temporary economic relief. But will it work? At the White House, the mood is unrelenting. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt made it clear that Trump isn't looking to maintain the status quo. He's always up to take a phone call, always up for a good negotiation, she said, but he is very much focused on fixing the wrongs of the past. According to Leavitt, America has been too generous for too long. An open economy in a world full of closed doors. The Trump administration sees its massive trade deficit as a sign of exploitation, and in their view, those days are over. Other nations are already bending. Israel has announced it will end tariffs on US imports, with Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich signing an order just yesterday to meet Trump's demands. The message is clear: fall in line or face the consequences. Tonight, Trump is expected to formally announce the details at a Make America Wealthy Again event in the White House Rose Garden. The announcement, originally scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, was delayed by an hour to hit precisely after the closing bell on Wall Street, underscoring its anticipated market impact. And indeed, the markets are already reacting. Global stocks dipped sharply on Wednesday. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq both slid by 0.2%. The Dow Jones lost 55 points. Meanwhile, gold, the classic safe haven, hovered near record highs. The world's investors are jittery, and for good reason. What makes this moment so volatile is the uncertainty. A statement from the White House confirmed that the tariffs would be effective immediately. Details remain murky, but early reports suggest the duties could reach 20% on most imports. Wall Street is on edge. Tesla shares took a 3% hit after a disappointing delivery report, dragging markets further down. And the broader S&P 500 has fallen in 5 of the past 6 weeks, largely due to fears surrounding this very moment. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent attempted to calm nerves, suggesting that the announced tariffs would act as a cap, the highest level countries would face, with room for negotiation. But few are reassured. According to the Washington Post, several tariff options remain on the table. One source suggested that even steeper duties could be held in reserve if countries don't comply. On the ground, business leaders are losing confidence. Apollo's chief economist Torsten Slok noted that both CEO and CFO confidence has plummeted to levels not seen in over a decade. And it's not just sentiment, real economic indicators are flashing red. US manufacturing contracted in March, ending a short-lived recovery. Producer-level inflation has jumped to its highest point in nearly 3 years, driven by anticipation of import tariffs. Job openings dropped by nearly 200,000, as employers grow hesitant to hire amid economic uncertainty. Across the Atlantic, Europe is feeling the tremors too. The Stoxx 600 fell 1.1%, with pharmaceutical stocks leading the downturn. Traders are now rushing into short-term hedges to buffer themselves against volatile price swings. Daiwa Capital's Chris Shikluna summed it up best. Whatever's announced today, I doubt very much will be the framework that's in place in 9 months' time. Negotiations are inevitable, but the opening shot is about to be fired. And so the world watches. Britain stands in a precarious position, caught between economic vulnerability and political pressure. Starmer is doing what he can, offering up concessions to avoid the worst. But the reality is clear. Trump's Liberation Day could mark the start of a turbulent new chapter in UK-US relations. The Prime Minister may have bored himself a few more hours, but what comes next is out of his hands. In other news, Shadow Foreign Secretary Dame Priti Patel has raised an urgent question in the Commons regarding the government's plans to hand over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. The intervention comes after Downing Street confirmed that a deal is being finalized following approval from US President Donald Trump. Patel expressed frustration at having to haul ministers back to the House to explain themselves just a day after oral questions. She criticized the government for briefing about the agreement to give away the Chagos Islands without mentioning it in Parliament, despite ministers being interrogated on this botched deal the previous day. The deal will see the UK relinquish sovereignty over the British Indian Ocean territory while paying to lease back the strategically important Diego Garcia military base, which is currently used by the United States. The Shadow Foreign Secretary said, "How many billions of hard-pressed taxpayers' British money will be expected to fork out to lease back the territory we already own? This, just as vulnerable pensioners are having their winter fuel payments ripped away, and family farms and businesses are being punished with new taxes, is because of this Labour government." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.